All right. Hey guys, this is your host Thomas Tyree here from Onthehop Podcast. Today, this will be episode 245 for you guys today, and I'm joined by a special guest, the host of the Run Podcast, Manny Wilson, joined us today on today's episode. Manny, we got a lot of football things to discuss. It should be one hell of an episode today.
Man, I'm excited to be on here. I appreciate you having me on, Tom. I'm excited to talk about this crazy matchup we're about to have, even though I'm feeling some type of way. But let's do it. I'm ready.
Yeah, we'll start off with the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, this is the last season or the last week of the NFL season. It's been a great year, but we're going out with a bang. Super Bowl 60. You got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the New England Patriots. Manny, who do you think is going to win this year's Super Bowl?
Man, I think it's silly if I didn't choose this team, but actually, it's not even silly, man. I'm going Seattle Seahawks to win this Super Bowl. Like, it's not
Okay.
even no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think when you look at these two teams play, and aside from everything we've seen in the regular season, but even if you want to count the regular season, there's been a clear team that looks better than the other. But just regarding these postseason games, the Seattle Seahawks have done everything, and they've looked better at everything and every little thing you could think of on the football field better than the New England Patriots. Now, statistically, it might not look this way, but based on the eye test, the Seattle Seahawks are just a completely better football team. They do everything better on the offensive end, and they do everything better on the defensive end. And this is not to slide the Patriots in any sort of way, saying, oh, they don't have a good secondary. I know they got some elite dogs in that secondary, and same for that D line. However, maybe that's the only area where you could say they're truly better than the Seattle Seahawks. But even then, it's still a stretch because the Seahawks are dogs on both ends of the defense, meaning secondary, linebackers, and also in that front seven. So just like I'm really going with the Seahawks on this part here. It's interesting because they'll be the number one offense or a top offense against a number one scoring defense in the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm on the side with the Seattle Seahawks here. I don't think the Patriots have seen any offense as elite as the Seahawks, whether that's throwing the ball, passing the ball. They haven't really been tested in that realm yet. The only game they could have came close was gonna be the Denver Broncos, but obviously Bo Nix didn't even play, so we'll never know what could have and what should have been the case in that game. So I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks to win this ball game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going with the Seahawks here. Now, I think the blueprint, everybody knows the blueprint to the New England Patriots' success this postseason has been their defense. The defense, they know how to get turnovers, they know how to get the sacks, they know how to put Drake May in the Patriots' offense a good field position. But the problem is for the Super Bowl, they're playing the Seattle Seahawks, a team that protects well. They protected Sam Darnold well throughout the NFL season, and Sam Darnold has played mistake-free football this NFL postseason. So now you run into a team that's really good offensively. They don't turn over the football. And what happens if the New England Patriots defense can't bail out Drake May in the offense? Because I'm not taking anything away from Drake May. We have yet to see him really play elite playoff football up to this point because you look at the Chargers game, there was only one total offensive touchdown scored in that game when the Patriots won 16-3. He did a little bit of damage offensively against the Houston Texans in the divisional round. But then you look at the Broncos game once again. They win that game by a score of 10-7. Drake May scores a rushing touchdown. He has under 100 passing yards. Then you're looking at the Patriots defense taking away the ball several times away from Jarrett Stidham, getting the sacks. They only allowed 7 points, basically pitched a shutout in the second half. So I think that's a little concerning for me. And then I'm looking at Mike McDonald's defense. Honestly, I think he's going to have his way against Drake May here. I think defensive looks like the nickel looks. I think they'll be able to stop the run, whether it's Stevenson or Travion Henderson trying to run the ball. They'll stop the run, and they'll have a lot of success blitzing Drake May. So I don't think he's going to have a comfortable game throwing the football or moving the ball really down the field for the New England Patriots offense a lot. But I think Sam Darnold, the offense, they're just going to have the advantage over the Patriots defense. I think the Seahawks can play the turnover game where they can get turnovers, put the Seahawks in good field position. I think once the Seahawks are on the field, they can run the football well with Kenneth Walker, try to play control of possession or win the control of possession. And I think with Jackson Smith and the Jigba going up against his Patriots secondary, I think he's going to have his way. I think Klint Kubiak is going to scheme up some things for him to get going offensively. I like the Seahawks in this game, so I think they'll win Super Bowl 60 this year.
Yeah, and so one of the interesting things you say too is like that the Seahawks defense will give the Patriots Drake May a big problem. Drake May, he's been great against blitz. Typically, when the Broncos were blitzing him, he's found his way out of it. Same with the Texans, who were literally the number one defense in the NFL. Whenever they sent some blitz packages, like he was somewhat successful. On the counter of that part is Drake May has been sacked 5 times in every playoff game so far this season,
Yeah.
and I'm sure he's going to get wrecked against the Seahawks. And the crazy part about it is the Seahawks don't even have to blitz. They don't blitz a lot. They just rush with that front four, and that front four usually has a good chance of getting to the quarterback, and that is going to create a lot of difficulty with finding those receivers. I know you got Diggs and Kayshon Boutte, but it's going to be difficult because the Seahawks secondary is no joke. And when that pass rush is getting to Drake May without a blitz, it's going to be difficult to get it to them. Now, one guy I think will have a pretty good game. You'll probably see the tight end. Of course, I blink on his name right now, but you'll probably see him or Hunter. You'll see Hunter probably have a pretty decent game because from based on statistics, I don't think Seahawks cover tight ends very well. We see when they went against the 49ers, although they smacked up the 49ers, it was a rough they still struggled to stop the tight end. And then also, if you go back against the Rams as well in that duel, we seen Parkinson have a pretty solid game against them as well. So tight ends kind of get their way a little bit, but it'll be interesting to really see what happens with this Seahawks team and if how Drake May and that offense counters against the Seahawks defense.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing because I do give Drake May credit because they have went up against every team they played in the playoffs has had a top 10 defense, the Chargers, the Texans, the Broncos. But that's my thing with this game is just like what happens if the Patriots defense can't hold their own and then Drake May is asked to step up against this really good Seattle Seahawks defense that gave Brock Purdy a lot of problems in the divisional round. And at times Matthew Stafford and the Rams couldn't move the ball down the field either until they started making their own mistakes. So that's why I'm really interested to see how this plays out. I think this could honestly be a game where the Seahawks win this game like 20-14, like not like a too high scoring game. I'd be honestly surprised if any team scores more than 24 points in this game.
Yeah, but that's where I struggle because I can really see the Seahawks scoring 24 points, and it's going to be tough to do so because again, the Patriots defense is not trash. That is a very good defense over there, but this
Yeah,
Seahawks team is just so damn dynamic, man. Like they can throw the ball, they can run the ball, like they can play from under center, they can beat you in play action. They literally can beat you any type of way you want it, whether it's running outside, whether it's running in between the tackles. Like this team, they get busy on the offensive end. And honestly, Klint Kubiak has cooked up all season. And I trust that Klint Kubiak will find a way to score regardless of the defense that he's going against. I mean, you look at the Rams defense is not trash. That is not a bad defense that they played against, but yet they still found a way to get points up on the board. And ultimately, they figured out how to win that ball game. And same with the 49ers. Like 49ers defense was not trash. We seen them, they locked in against the Bears. Yeah, they gave up the big play. Or I'm sorry, that was the wrong team. But 49ers, they locked in and like they've been solid all year, and the defense they charged up at times during the regular season. But that's not a trash defense, despite the injuries that they had. So I think
yeah,
sometimes we focus so much on, oh well, the Patriots got such a good defense, and Drake May has beaten these teams that are great defensive teams. Yes. But what are those offensive side or what are those defensive doing on the offensive side on the ball? Those
yeah,
defensive
that's
teams
true.
that Drake may beat, yes, very elite, but they all had very bad offenses. The Texans been bad all season. Chargers have struggled all season. Had O-line issues. Didn't have receivers there for Justin Herbert. And then Broncos were the only team who was pretty solid, but you lose the starting quarterbacks. So
Yeah,
it's like I get, Drake May has beat these elite teams, but let's not sit here and act like the Seahawks ain't did the same thing. And let's also not sit here and act like the Seahawks ain't held teams to under 17 points all season long. So
that's true.
I just look at these things and I'm like, man, everywhere you go in terms of, oh, well, the Patriots will win this and the Patriots are better and good at this. There's a counter for the Seahawks because the Seahawks have been more consistent. They've been doing it against elite competition. all through the regular season and in the playoffs, whereas some teams, out of these two teams, ain't played no competition.
Yeah, and that's the thing about I was just talking about that about Drake May and the Patriots. I'm like, yeah, they deserve to be here, but I'm just like all year long. Like we've even said that when I
Yeah.
brought you on the podcast. Like
Yeah.
certain NFL teams get certain luxury. Like how do you only play
Bro.
two teams above 500 all year long? And I give them the credit for the wins that they got in the playoffs. But it's just like I'm looking. That's why I also believe in the Seahawks. Because I'm looking at everybody they beat. They
Man.
went through the. They went through two divisional rivals to get to this
Man.
point. And the Patriots beat some good teams too. But like you said, like we never know what that AFC Championship game would have looked like if Bo Nix was in the lineup. We never know. Honestly, I still think if CJ Stroud wasn't messing up so much that the Texans would
Man.
be in this position right about now.
I agree wholeheartedly because yes, Drake made again played a great performance, but it's so much easier to like go out there and perform on the offensive end when the pressure is not on you to score the ball. Like it just makes it 10 times easier when it's like, okay, we're up two scores. Like, yeah, we want to score, but it's not a necessity compared to you being down 4 points and it's like we have to score or else we're gonna lose.
Yeah, that's true. I think definitely it should be an interesting game, but I think we're both on board that the Seahawks are going to win that. And I want to say something else too because I just literally thought about this. Manny, I want to know your thoughts on this before we move on. So I'm looking at the 2018 draft class. You have Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. That's like the four relevant quarterbacks of this draft class. Do you think it's crazy that Sam Darnold's about to possibly get a championship ring before Lamar, Josh Allen, or Baker Mayfield?
Yes, this is absolutely nuts. I would have never expected Baker or Sam Darnold to go get a ring before Lamar Jackson, man. When especially after the first couple of years of seeing Lamar Jackson and what he did and seeing how promising these Ravens teams were, I just knew by now he would have at least one ring under his belt.
Yeah,
Obviously, there's been some just tragic things that happened to the rest of the team, meaning Mark Andrews dropping the end zone and just the collapse against running against the Chiefs. And just, it's been some tragic things that's happened to them in the playoffs. And I really wish Fred was here so we could talk about it even more. But I'll save that for, different time. Above all, I think it is very, very crazy. I would have never expected Sam Darnold to be the one to have this first shot at winning a Super Bowl.
yeah, and it's crazy when you think about it because, like you said, Lamar has had the teams to get there. He's a two-time MVP. I know he was like the last pick in the first round back in 2018, but you would have thought he would have had one. I'm looking at Josh Allen too. He's been to several
Yep.
AFC Championship games too. I'm surprised he doesn't have one. The type of teams that he's had with the Buffalo Bills. Now I can understand Baker not having one because he had to reinvent himself going to different teams. And then you look at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was basically picked like a few picks after Baker Mayfield. And then he
Yeah.
was a bust with the New York Jets. He moved on to Carolina. That didn't work out. He was a backup with the 49ers, went to the Vikings. They moved off of him. Now he's with the Seahawks, and he could possibly win a ring before all those guys. That's absolutely insane to me. But that's
It
just how
is
the
wild.
NFL works. That's why the NFL is just every year it's must see because you never know what quarterback can pop up, what surprises you get. But I think that would honestly be a wild thing to go back and look at that draft class that Sam Darnold possibly gets his first ring before them. That's actually crazy.
I would be very shocked. And yeah, I would be very, very shocked. I think it's also crazy with Drake May too, what he's doing. Because
Oh yeah, and if
I
he
mean,
gets a
just
ring,
him. Again, man, I think a lot of luck goes into going to the Super Bowl, and sometimes even more luck into winning the Super Bowl. But it's still, I mean, he's still the only quarterback from his draft class to go to the Super Bowl. So it's weird. I don't think it's weird, man. It's weird. It's just weird. That's all I can say.
yeah, it is crazy. But we'll move on to the next segment here. So we'll be sharing our favorite NFL playoff runs of all time. So Manny, what are some NFL playoff runs that sit well to you as some of your favorite of all time?
Yes. So my absolute favorite, without a doubt. And Tom, you might even know what's coming. But my absolute favorite playoff run, let's go all the way back to 2016.
Oh,
The media be saying 2016 was the best year ever. I was around, you was around. We know we was living it up in 2016. But the thing that really made it so sweet, and if you ain't from 20, if you ain't get to experience 2016, look, the Atlanta Falcons went on a playoff run that was just historical, iconic, one of the best playoff runs in NFL history. We ain't gonna talk about what happened when they got all the way to the big game, but getting there was just tremendous. You go and you play the Seattle Seahawks, you ball out, and I'm actually pretty sure this is the last year of the Georgia Dome as well in Atlanta. So you host the Seattle Seahawks at home, you win that ball game. Mind you, at this point, you're just playing to try and win all the way out as much as you can before your stadium is collapsed and beat down and tore down, all of these things. So you beat the Seattle Seahawks. Matt Ryan goes off, throws like 300 and some yards. Julio Jones has his solid game as well. Devontae Freeman actually showed up big on the ground game there. And then, cool, you get up out the division round. Now you go to the conference game. Ooh, conference game. You go against the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. Nobody believes in you. It's almost like that Michael Irvin speech where he's like, "What are you prepared to do about it?" My Falcons showed up and showed out. They said, Julio, catch this. Boom. Matt Ryan threw for damn near 400 yards. He was 8 yards shy of 400 yards. I loved every second of it. Julio Jones looked like the absolute monster and the Hall of Famer that he is, almost having 200 receiving yards, 20 yards shy. And I loved every moment of that game. And it was at that moment, I'm like, the Falcons will legitimately go win the Super Bowl. I'm like,
yeah.
nobody could convince me otherwise. I'm like, this team is built to go win the Super Bowl. We just hung up 40 on Aaron Rodgers. Like, yeah, they're for sure going to win the Super Bowl. So again, I ain't gonna talk about what happened in the big game when they got to the Super Bowl. But that playoff run was tremendous, man. I loved it because they were doubted. And a lot of people think, like, oh, well, this Falcons team, they were so stacked. They had this and this. Yeah, they had Julio and they had some great guys on the roster. But also, this was a team that finished 11-5. They just reached that mark of 11 wins. So a lot of people still doubted them in this sense, and they knew they were talented, but I just, man, they overcame a lot of doubt, and that was a playoff run that I absolutely loved.
Yeah, that was a good run for the Falcons back then. And then when you said that, I reminisced because I was like, that was one of the years where I could have possibly seen the NFC Championship, at least in my lifetime, because that year the Cowboys were the number one seed. Yo, man, that made me so sick. We were 13-3 with Dak and Zeke
Yeah.
as rookies. All we had to do was beat
Oh,
the Packers, and we would have played y'all in the NFC Championship.
yes. Yes, you're
Joe
right.
just had the backyard throw where he just connected to Jared Cook, and then they kicked a 50-something yard field goal to beat us. We would have played y'all in the NFC
Yes.
Championship, man. So I'd at least said I could see one in my lifetime. So that's just
Yeah.
that.
Ooh.
That's just the story of being a Cowboys fan after the '90s dynasty, man.
It's okay, bro. My story didn't end well that year in the playoffs either. So it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I got two here, and this one I got to be unbiased for. I have to be unbiased as a Cowboys fan. I'm going to put the 2007 New York Giants run on here. Now,
Oh yeah.
I'm
Okay.
still
Okay.
jealous to this day about it. They were the fifth seed that year. They went 10 and
Yep.
6. They had Eli Manning, Tom Coughlin, Michael Strahan on the team. They started off with, and actually all their games they won were all road games before the Super Bowl. They defeated the Bucks in the wild card. Then they once again another 13-3 Cowboys team as the one seed, just wasted. They just came to Dallas, beat us in the divisional round,
Damn.
and then they went on to Lambeau Field in the NFC Championship, playing against Brett Favre and company, and they just stole the game away on the road in Lambeau Field. Then you're going up against the juggernaut team, the undefeated 18-0 New England Patriots, knocking on the door to history. And that was a revenge game for them because late in that season, the Patriots beat them, I think, by 3 points. That was a close game to close out one of the last games to close out the regular season. So they're looking for revenge. But Eli Manning just outplayed Tom Brady. And then everybody knows that lucky catch down the field by David Tyree, the helmet catch.
Man,
And that
that
put
was
him in
nuts.
position to make history, man. Like,
What's
what would you say, Manny?
I was just gonna say what's crazy about that run too, like just thinking about it. was the Patriots. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. They were on pace to have another undefeated season, or like
Yeah.
the first undefeated season since the Miami Dolphins.
Yep. We haven't seen it since. They were right there because that year, hey, they were stacked that year. They had
They
Tom
were,
Brady,
man.
Bill Belichick. They just traded for Randy Moss, Wes Walker. Like they were
That team
loaded.
was not fair. That team was not fair at all.
They were loaded. Hey, speaking of David Tyree, man, I actually got a funny story.
Mm,
Before I said the next team. So you know my last name is Tyree, right?
yeah.
So I'll never forget this. My freshman year of high school, I was trying out for the football team, right? I ended up on JV that year, but the coaches was
Uh,
like, they looked at my last name, they're like, Tyree, are you the uncle of is David Tyree your uncle? I was like, nah. They were like, you should have honestly lied to us because with your hands, we would have put you on varsity if you were.
we'd have, we'd have, yeah,
As I
you
sat
should
there
have
and lied,
capped.
I was
You
like,
should have capped.
dang, but nah, that's a crazy story. A lot of people thought that was always my uncle. I was like, nah, bro, I
That
have
is
no
hilarious.
connections with him, no family ties or nothing. But yeah, that year was just crazy by the Giants. I'm still jealous to it of what they accomplished. I got one more though.
Mhm.
Um, this one was in 2012, the Baltimore Ravens last Super Bowl run. I think that was one of the best championship runs I've seen in my lifetime. That year, the Ravens were the fourth seed. They were 10-6, and right before the game, like a week before the game or so, Ray Lewis came out and said that he was going to retire by the end of the year. He was coming back from injury and said he's going to leave it all on the line for the Baltimore Ravens. So that was his last
Yeah.
hoorah. And you look at what they did in the playoffs that year and their final home game with Ray Lewis, they ran through the Indianapolis Colts that had Andrew Luck and Chuck Pagano as their head coach. They won that game 24-9. Then they went on the
Yeah.
road to play the Denver Broncos that were number one seed with Peyton Manning and company. And the mile high miracle where Joe Flacco just heaved the ball deep down the field to Jacoby Jones for a 70-yard touchdown to tie the game with
Oh,
31 seconds. That game went into double overtime. The Ravens won it. Then the AFC Championship was a movie too. They had their rematch against the Patriots because I don't know if you remember the year before, Billy Cundiff missed the kick that would have tied the game for them to go into overtime.
mm.
So that
Yeah, I do. I do remember that. Dang, I forgot they lost. I forgot they lost that way.
yeah, and then they beat Tom Brady, Bill Belichick in Foxborough, and then they were in the Super Bowl in New Orleans playing against the 49ers. Then you had the Harbaugh Bowl, Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh going
Yep.
against each other. And then the crazy thing about that game was the lights went out when the Ravens had all the momentum in
Oh
the world.
man, I never forget that. I remember lights cut out, and it was like we had a Super Bowl party. When them lights cut out, everybody was like, "Oh, check didn't clear. The check didn't clear."
Then
So,
all of a sudden
oh
the
no.
49ers just came all the way back, and then you had a close game again, but they
And
closed them out. But I think that run with the Ravens, that was an elite run, and that's where playoff Joe became a lot. Like he won playoff
yeah,
games, of course, but that year you knocked off Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Colin Kaepernick that was just getting going in the league. Like that
yep.
was a legendary run right there by the Ravens.
You ain't lying. Yeah, that was definitely a special. And it's crazy you mentioned that the miracle in Denver. Now this last thing, and it's not necessarily playoff run. It was it was a good playoffs, I will say, but this just makes me think. I think it was 2017 when it was New Orleans Saints versus Minnesota Vikings, the Minnesota
Oh
Miracle.
my gosh, bro.
This one that was just literally a blatant PI call that was just uncalled. And Stephon Diggs takes it all the way to the end zone. I think it was, I don't even remember how much time left, but the game was over. It was literally one final play, Hail Mary or nothing at this point.
Yeah.
And freaking Case Keenum at the time launched it to Stephon Diggs. And it was just like yeah, it was that one was crazy. That wasn't the blatant PI. That was against the Rams actually. That was a different trauma with the Saints. But
Oh yeah, yeah. You're right about
yeah,
that. You're right.
I tweaked that. But the mirror that one was with Stephon Diggs is what I'm talking about specifically against the Saints when they played them. That was a crazy one because it was we everybody was like, okay, all you literally got to do is just stop them from getting in the end zone, and the defensive back just ran like in didn't even push him out of bounds. It was just
So
insane the way that happened when Stephon Diggs ended up scoring that.
yeah, that was I think that play right there, that was the best walk off that I've ever seen in the NFL. Like the way how he
Yeah,
just caught the
man.
ball and then spun off and just took off, nobody could catch him. And then Joe Buck,
Yeah,
Diggs sideline, like that was a
man.
crazy walk off.
Yeah, bro scored that mug immediately, took the helmet off, and got to celebrating immediately. I'm like, wow, that one was, yeah, that Minnesota Miracle. Again, I know it's not a playoff run, but
Yeah.
that was insane. That one was crazy.
If they found a way to get past the Eagles in the NFC Championship that year, then that definitely could have been a run right there. Because who knows
Yeah.
if the Patriots would have knocked them off or not. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was a crazy play right there. And then the pettiest thing, if you're a Saints fan or if you were on the Saints team that day, they made the Vikings kick the extra point just to end the game. Like they was already up, bro. Just
I
end the
know, like
game.
it doesn't even matter. Yeah, just wrap the game up, bro. It don't even matter. Like people are all rushing the field. Like it's over with, bro.
That was crazy though. But that is one of the best NFL moments that I can definitely say that was impactful for watching sports, though, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll go ahead and move on to the next segment here, man. I definitely want to know your thoughts on this one. Um, your thoughts on Bill Belichick not being named a first ballot NFL Hall of Famer. What's your thoughts on that?
All right, I feel a ways about this. I truthfully feel a ways, and I understand both sides, but I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world that Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Just considering the scandals, Deflategate,
Oh,
Spygate. I mean, he was cheating. So I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world to look at it like, yeah, you're a great coach. Yeah, you won 6, 7 Super Bowls and whatever, but you were cheating. So we're going to make you wait a year. I don't think that's the craziest thing in the world. I
damn.
genuinely don't. And I know people are like, oh, well, doesn't matter. He's still one of the greatest to ever coach in the game. Very true. Yes. But he was cheating. And he didn't get penalized by losing a Super Bowl for it. He didn't get penalized by them taking away any Super Bowls or not allowing him to coach. He got to coach per normal. He didn't lose any money. Nothing happened. He didn't get in trouble. Not that I know of. Now, if anybody out there know any way that Bill Belichick was punished for cheating, Deflategate, Spygate, whatever it was, if he lost money or he got robbed of some Super Bowls where they literally took one of his rings, let me know because I didn't hear about that. So with the committee saying you're not going to be in the Hall of Fame in this first year, I have no problem with it. I really don't. I
Damn.
really don't, man. He cheated the game and he got caught. You got caught. So now it just came back to hunt you.
Damn, man. Yeah, I can understand. I can understand that point. I can understand that point. I just think it's insane that he missed being a first ballot in his first year eligible because I just feel like it came down to him having bad relationships with the higher ups, and 80% of the Hall of Fame committee did not want him in. Now I think he'll eventually get in. He might have to wait a year or so, maybe if it's 3 years, then that's crazy. But he
3 years.
might have to wait a little bit. But I think it I don't know. I think it's a bad look for the Hall of Fame because it reminds me how Terrell Owens' first time wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. And you're looking at Bill Belichick here. He would, like you said, the Spygate and the Deflategate. That is, you got caught red-handed with that. The Spygate, the Patriots did get punished for that. They lost a first-round pick. And then the Deflategate back in 2015, 2016, he was caught for that, but he was still eligible to coach, but it was Tom Brady that got suspended for 4 games to start off the year there. So I'm thinking if that's the case with the Spygate and the Deflategate, TB12 was there both times when that happened in nearly 2 different decades. Is Tom Brady gonna get punished for not being a first ballot Hall of Famer or not?
You're right.
If that happens, and all hell is gonna break loose with the NFL. But Bill here is like, wow, like he has 300 over 300 wins as a coach, 8 total Super Bowl rings. Like you can count the 6 with the Patriots as a head coach, and then 2 as a defensive coordinator with the New York Giants. I don't know. This is crazy though. Like we're talking about one of the greatest head
Yeah.
coaches of all time with Tom Landry, John Madden, Bill not being accepted in the first year eligible. Like,
It is crazy. And to your point, okay, now that you've mentioned some of the punishments that they have, to your point, okay, that's a little fair. So since they did serve whatever punishment was, assigned to them, I guess that does make it seem like, okay, well, why are you penalizing for it right now? And
yeah,
also, are you going to penalize Tom Brady and everyone else who was on that team as well during those times? Probably not. That definitely makes sense. It just, yeah, I go back and forth because it's like, I mean, you got caught cheating and you're cheating. But to your point, it probably is more so of the relationship with the higher ups on the committee. It got to be something because I cannot see this happening to Tom Brady at all. Once it's his turn to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I just really doubt that people bring up, oh, well, he cheated. That's why. Oh, Deflategate, Spygate. I just don't think it'll happen.
yeah, and that's the thing because I know Bill has a bad relationship with the New England Patriots right now. Like, yeah, this he's heading into year two in college with North Carolina. Like, I don't think the Patriots can have any type of relationship with the players a part of North Carolina. I don't really know. I don't really understand the situation there. I mean, Bill should be like as welcome as Tom Brady is in terms of being like a all-time Patriot great. But I know like there's a blockage where NFL scouts, a part of the New England Patriots, cannot scout or they can't come out the games or be welcome on the North Carolina campus to scout possible NFL talent. I don't really understand the situation there, but it's just like, damn, like the high, messed up with 80% is like
Man.
insane.
Yeah,
That's
that
a
means 8 out of 10 people said no. How many ever, is in the committee for a smaller sample size? 8 out of 10 people said no.
that is crazy. But then I'm looking at like the Bill ain't the only guy. Like there's been some times where NFL teams have cheated or gone around loopholes in the past, and I'm just like, they've been punished too. And I think Bill missing out on the first year eligibility, this could be a potential punishment too. Because I'm looking at several teams that cheated in the past, like the Indianapolis Colts when they had Peyton Manning. They used to pump.
Yeah.
They used to use fake crowd noises at home games in Indianapolis to get the advantage on road teams. John Elway, this was like back in the '90s. John Elway and Terrell Davis with the Denver Broncos, like they always found a way to finesse the NFL salary cap. Like, of course, the salary cap's not how it is today, but they
Yeah.
always found loopholes to improve the roster. And then once the NFL found out about it, when like John Elway and Terrell Davis weren't there anymore, then the Broncos started losing out on draft picks as the years went on because they found out they finessed the salary cap. And then like also even for the Dallas Cowboys, like back in the '90s, I mean, they never did it, but even Jimmy Johnson during the dynasty with the Cowboys, he tried to do the spy gate before like the spy gate was a thing. He was trying to get illegal NFL tape of different teams to get an advantage, and he came out and said it. And like, it's just like I feel like everybody in the league at some point tries to get advantage over somebody else. It's
Yeah.
just the fact that Bill wasn't smart enough. Like, all right, you got caught with the spy gate once. Like, I would think deflating balls, you would not get caught again. And then you got Tom Brady in the courtrooms destroying cell phones to get out of it, but still got slapped with a
Yeah.
4 game suspension.
But even then, like that 4 game suspension is, man, that 4 games does not hurt nobody. Like you get suspended 4 games, you could lose 4 games, get blown out 4 games, lose another 3 or 4 games on top of that, and you can still make the playoffs, depending on how everybody else is doing around the year, or depending on if you win division game. Like it's to me that 4 games is literally just a small slap on the wrist.
And the crazy thing is, I think who they have at quarterback because that's what they had Jimmy Garoppolo
Jimmy, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo stepped in.
and they had Jacoby Brissett. They used both of them, and they went. I think they went like 3-1, and then Tom Brady magically just came back afterwards. Just dang.
Yeah, just crazy.
But that showed how sorry the AFC East was back in the day too, because like every year they were just destroying that division,
It
just
was running
easily
through
winning.
it.
Yeah, it's crazy with Bill though. I do like your points though. I was surprised about that.
Yeah, man. I'm on the side of just like, I mean, hey, you got caught cheating twice, not
Yeah,
once, twice you got caught cheating, and it's like, bro, Like you can't be mad if people feel a way about that.
And then I get your point too. Now that you said that, I'm like, the Spygate happened when they were about to be making Miami Dolphins history, possibly going 19-0. Like that
I'm
year,
saying,
they were getting illegal tape, and they were trying to get the hand signals from defensive coordinators or defensive coaches on the sidelines to pick up their signals, so the offense can have more success. So it is crazy to think like. I honestly would have thought if
yeah,
I'm Bill, like I got called once, I ain't doing that again. But then they found
yeah.
another way to get an advantage.
Turn around a couple years later, you say, okay, bet, let's run it back. Like, what else can we do to try and get an advantage? So that's where I'm just like on the side of, okay, yeah, I get it. Great coach, great defensive mind. You know, he's got all these championship rings, but you also got caught cheating.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be interesting because if that man don't get in, like if he don't get in within the next, well, next year, you still gotta wait for the next window. Then possibly don't get in next year. If he doesn't get in for the next 2 to 3 years, that's
That's a
gonna
little
be
crazy.
crazy.
At that point, I'm fully indulging in your theory of the relationship with the people in the committee. Because at that point, nah, it ain't no reason he 1 year. I can see 1 year is already crazy. Don't get me wrong. Like 1 year is already crazy, but you can kind of chuck that up to okay, he got caught cheating, and his legacy would be slightly different if he wasn't cheating and all of it. You can chuck it up to some of those excuses, but anything after that 1 year is like it's a little crazy. It's a little crazy.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Bill Belichick or when Tom Brady's eligible in a couple years to see what goes on there.
Yeah, because
Um,
I'd be shocked if they make him wait.
yeah, that and then everything would break loose.
Man, that committee getting disbarred if Tom Brady got to wait a year.
But we'll go ahead and move on to the final segment. So Manny, this isn't official yet, but all signs are pointing to yes, that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to hire Seattle Seahawks offense coordinator Klint Kubiak to be their next head coach in Vegas. I want to know your thought, especially since you're a Falcons fan and you could have had Klint Kubiak. I want to know your thoughts on Klint Kubiak possibly becoming the next Raiders head coach.
Uh, it should have been me. It should have been me. It should have been me, man. It should have been me, man. I'm happy for the Raiders. I'm glad he's not coaching in the NFC. And again, it's not 100% official yet, so he still very much might stay with the Seahawks as offensive coordinator. But in terms of him going to be a head coach somewhere, I would have loved for it to be the Falcons. But I'm glad it's not in the NFC, and I'm even more glad it's not in the same division. So him going to coach in a completely different conference, completely different division, cool. I wish him the best with the Las Vegas Raiders, but I do have a lot of confidence in the Raiders getting a new head coach, someone who is offensive minded and someone who can utilize a lot of those weapons that they can possibly pick up in the offseason because they got a lot of draft capital. The first pick in the draft, and also they got a lot of cap space to be able to sign some more guys. So, definitely a lot of areas they need to target, bringing in some receivers, bringing in some offensive linemen. You
Yeah.
got a dog in Ashton Gentry who's great. Obviously, Brock Bowers is over there who's great. So you just need some more pieces to really help out. And it might sound weird, but I really still think Geno Smith can have some success as quarterback with the Raiders. And I really believe the Raiders think that Geno Smith is still the guy. So I don't see them drafting Mendoza like a lot of people are thinking. Because Geno Smith, I doubt they would have paid him a 3 year contract with a good amount of money if they had zero belief in him or if they thought he was going to be bad after just one rough season. To me, I feel like Tom Brady and the rest of the people in the front office is smart enough to understand that this man is working with a handicap O line. He's working with no wide receivers. And at one point, they traded their best receiver. and so I just look at things like that where he's kind of walking in a more difficult situation than if he would have went to the Falcons, or even maybe the Bills or wherever else he could have possibly went before they took this trip to the Super Bowl. But I think it's a good move for the Raiders.
Yeah, and if this becomes official, I think this would be a layup to make Klint Kubiak their next head coach. And he's done a good job as an offensive play caller in the last 2 years. And the year before this season, he was with the New Orleans Saints. was pretty solid over there, but then really turned up in Seattle with Sam Darnold and this really good Seattle Seahawks offense. So as a play caller, he's won me over, and I think he's deserving of this job with the Las Vegas Raiders. And the thing is, his offense, he likes to run a lot of heavy personnel sets, a lot of two tight end sets. They got some tight ends in Vegas with Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. They could use both of them in double tight end sets. And like you said, they got a good running back in Ashton Genty, and also Klint Kubiak. What made the Seattle Seahawks offense pretty good is using the play action looks a lot and forcing teams to be on their heels and toes on the defensive side of the ball. Now, like you said, Manny, the only problem is you're walking in a scenario where it's going to take time to build. They do have a lot of cap space for the offseason, but that doesn't mean you're going to get a lot of talent to come to Vegas this NFL offseason. So I'm looking at the roster. I do like your point. I think Geno Smith should stay on the roster. And number one, though, I think you got to roll the dice on Fernando Mendoza. Now, I don't think he should.
Ooh.
I don't think he should automatically start. I think Geno should still be a starter, but you have Mendoza there ready to go if you don't like what you're seeing out of Geno Smith early. And they still need a number one wide receiver, like you said. Like if George Pickens doesn't slip away from Dallas, who could they possibly get as a number one? So you got to find a number one. And I'm looking at this defense. They got to fix everything. Like other than Max
Man.
Crosby, they don't got a good D line, no linebackers, no secondary. So I'm looking at it like you're gonna have to sacrifice Max Crosby in order to get some draft capital, some more draft capital possibly, and build for the future. So I think this Raiders team is a good destination for a young coordinator like Klint Kubiak to be the leader, but it's definitely going to take 2 to 3 years to build, in my opinion, especially in that AFC West division.
Yeah, so that's where it gets interesting too. The division is going to be a little difficult to have some success in, of course, too, especially with Pat Mahomes, and he's going to be coming back. It's going to be tough. Chargers got a new offensive coordinator now with Mike
Mhm.
McDaniel. It's going to be tough. Obviously, Broncos are still going to be the Broncos when Bo Nix come back. Elite defense, solid offense. You're in a very competitive division. It's going to be very tough to have
Yeah,
some sort of success with the Raiders, but it does start with obviously new head coach. You have that. And just filling those gaps on the defensive end and also on the offensive end. And I think if they get creative with this number one pick, instead of drafting Mendoza, maybe you even look to trade the number one pick. I know it's a little crazy to say, but you could definitely get some pieces if you get rid of that number one pick and bring somebody else. Like you can make something happen. And also, one of the things I think about is with Klint Kubiak going to the Raiders as the head coach, he goes from Sam Darnold to Geno Smith. Geno Smith was previously there on the Seattle Seahawks, and he looked good. I mean, he was solid. He had his team winning ball games. He didn't look like a complete disaster. And then we all thought the Raiders would be a little bit better than what they were because Geno Smith, who was coming off a solid season, was now with the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think if he continued to uphold Sam Darnold's level of play, he can definitely help Geno Smith get to a solid level of play as well.
yeah, that could be interesting too, because that's why I said I agree with your point. They shouldn't get rid of Geno Smith because you actually might find something because
Yeah.
I don't know what the I don't know. I love Pete Carroll a lot, but he's like nearly 75 years old. I don't even know why they even brought him there to Vegas. And then the coaching
Man.
staff that he hired, like Chip Kelly, never worked in the NFL. Like, yeah, you can use him as a coordinator in college, or he could be a head coach at a like not a top tier program, but like him coming back to the NFL, I already knew that wasn't going to work. So, like, I feel
Man.
like Geno Smith, the play was on him, but I feel like the system was not really beneficial for him either, having Chip Kelly. And then you have Klint Kubiak that's probably going to call the plays if he's the head coach there, too. I wouldn't
Uh,
necessarily give up on him just yet. You could get a quarterback, but I would keep Geno as the starter for if they get Mendoza or whatever direction they go in, if they get a quarterback in the later rounds they have them sit under Geno Smith, and then you could possibly see if you can unlock some things that you see in Seattle with Geno Smith with a good play caller.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think Gino would be the way to go, especially bringing in Klint Kubiak because he seems like a coordinator that will make whatever work on that offensive side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting.
Man, I will say though, if the Raiders who was in this situation? It was the Saints last year that was in this situation. They were just banking on whatever happened after the Super Bowl to make Kellen Moore the next head coach. They're lucky Kellen Moore said yes. But if
Yeah.
Klint Kubiak turns around, they win the Super Bowl, and he's like, "Nah, I want to stay another year, and then I'll think about it next year." What are the Raiders gonna do? Like
I
every
will
head
say
coach spot is filled up now.
they're gonna
It's
have
just
to hit
the
up
one
Sean
left.
McDermott. They're gonna have to hit up Sean McDermott. They're gonna have to find somebody. I don't know who, but they're gonna
It
find somebody.
that's the thing when you rolling the dice this late. Like I know you can't
So true.
officially name somebody the head coach until they're out of the playoffs, which I think that's something the NFL is eventually going to have to stop because it's like I know they're on a staff, but it's kind of crazy for the Raiders in this situation. They're banking on after the Super Bowl. What if Clint's like, I want to run it back another year? Like, who are you
Yeah.
going to go out and go get?
Oh yeah, they can't get anybody. And you know that will make me happy of being a Falcons fan. If that happens where Klint Kubiak is like, nah, we won the Super Bowl, I'm running it back. We going to get another one. Or we lost the Super Bowl, I'm running it back. I'm going to get another one. I would then, as a Falcons fan, be like, thank God we hired Stefanski. I would be
Yeah.
because he would have been gone, and we at this point we'd have been like trying to just find a coach to fill in the void for a year.
And that's the craziest thing. Like, there's no, I mean, like you said, Sean McDermott. I'm thinking of Mike Tomlin, but he's already said he ain't coaching
Yep.
next year or possibly ever again. So I'm just like, there is nobody left, and you're rolling
None.
all the dice on this. Like, you better hope it pays off. Because I was saying the same thing about the Saints last year. Like, you're putting all your chips in Kellen Moore. He
Yep.
says, "I want to run it back with the Eagles." You would have
So
hired Mike McCarthy after that, or whoever else was out there left. It's just like, dang.
you would have had to bring in just anybody at that point and be like, yeah, I hope you know what you're doing as head coach. Like, yeah, that part is gonna be crazy. That's gonna be the real watch in terms of after the Super Bowl is like if Clint Kubiak actually decides to go coach the Raiders, because I mean, that's also a huge difference, man. Coaching the Raiders and the Seattle Seahawks that are locked up. I mean, they got a great defense, great offense. They got pieces there for you to play around with. They got a solid quarterback. Like they're already somewhat established with the Seattle Seahawks. So it's just gonna be a complete 360. He go from that to the Raiders.
Yeah.
Man,
And that's what I'm thinking. It honestly, I know NFL head coach is it's good for that's what everybody wants a promotion, but it's just like honestly with that roster, they're probably gonna keep nearly the same exact roster next year. I would run it
yeah.
back with the Seahawks and say I'll do this again, and then possibly I could land a better job
Yep.
depending on what happens next year's NFL season. So
Yeah, I mean that's a really really good point too, because I mean he might pull like in a way like what Ben Johnson did. Ben Johnson had a solid run with the Lions, showed clearly he's the guy
oh
on the
yeah,
offensive side of the ball. Said I'm gonna run it back one more time. They ran it back and didn't obviously achieve their goal. But after that, he was like, all right, I'm out. Like this is a good position. This is a good team. They're gonna give me a lot of authority. I'm out. I'm gone.
yeah, that's true also. So it's definitely gonna be interesting to see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week to see what his decision is gonna be. If man, I
Yeah.
would just throw in the towel. If I'm a Raiders fan, you don't get it, I'm throwing in the towel.
Yeah, it's over with. Just start preparing for 2 seasons from now. Just start worrying about baseball, bro. Well, actually, they can't even do that. They can't even do that because the A's are awful also. So they can't even. Yeah, just start worrying about. Just cheer for Steph Curry at that point. That's all. Yeah.
But we're gonna go ahead and close out the segment or close out the episode. So before we sign off, Manny, where can we find the Run podcast to catch up on your own sports podcast?
Yeah, check out the podcast episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search up The Run with Manny Wilson. You can also follow us on social media, Instagram at The Run Podcast, TikTok at The Run Podcast, YouTube, The Run with Manny Wilson.
Yeah, man. Always a pleasure to have you on, Manny. This was definitely fun talking about football tonight, but that's all the time we have for you guys today. Your host, Thomas Tyree, and the host of the Run Podcast, Manny Wilson, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.